Make me more like you. Change me, oh God. Wash me through and through. Create in me a clean heart, so that I may worship you. Change me, oh God. Make me more like you. Change me, oh God. Wash me through and through. Just create in me a clean heart, so that I may worship you. I need you to change me. Jesus, change me. Like only you can, Lord. Change me. Is anybody out there need the Lord to change something about you? Change me. Whatever's not like you, Lord, I want you to change me. Do it for me, Lord. I dare you to just put your hands on yourself. Lord, I want you to change me. Like only you can, Lord. Change me. Can y'all help me say it? It's easy. I need you to. Oh, come on. Say it like you mean it. Change me. Whatever's not like you, Lord, I want you to. From the inside out, Lord. Oh, a little change. I need you to. Change me. Or you can say it. Change me. I need a change. Change this mind of mine, Lord. Change my mind, Lord. Wonderful change. Y'all remember this? Has come over me.
Good evening. Welcome to Wednesday night Bible study. We are back. It's a joy to be back, and I'm just praising God that you decided to rejoin us. I've been away resting, and again, let me say to this congregation as well as to my family, thank you so much for partnering with me during the month of July as I was able to rest during the month of July. And so thank you, family, for your partnership, your cooperation, your sensitivity, your understanding. Then, of course, the leadership of the church and the congregation at large, thank you so much for allowing that to take place. And I'm back. I'm well rested, and I'm ready to finish the year out. So again, thank you so very much, and I hope and pray that you have set aside some time to rest, to refill, replenish yourself. We're living in some challenging times, and over a period of time, they take a toll on us, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually as well. And so make sure you've incorporated into your schedule, hopefully sometime within the next month or two, to just get a break, just rest from the rigors of going in and going out and doing all the things that are associated with living for the Lord, as well as leading a family, working from home, etc. So make sure you incorporate rest in your schedule. But again, we are back. I'm excited about this new series that we're going to begin tonight. We're just going to lay the foundation. We're going to introduce it. Again, God is up to something. God is always working out his perfect will. We are seeing him move in ways and means that we've never seen before. He is where he has always been, and that is on the throne. He's everywhere at the same time, building his kingdom. And yet God has allowed this to transpire in our lifetime, and it has brought about a tremendous change in how we see ourselves, how we see life, how we see the world, even how we see God and how we see God's church. The church is not immune to the challenges and pressures of life. And so we wanted to, at this particular point in time in the history of this church as well as our lifetime, how can we come together and deal with what we've been forced to deal with, and that is unexpected change. Now, I want to begin by saying that we want to make sure that we understand that there's a difference between normal change and unexpected change. Let me give you an example. Normal change is getting older. I mean, you are running today, but you're not going to always be able to run as fast as far. That's normal change, just wear and tear of the human body. That's normal change. Unexpected change, however, is, let's say you out of nowhere, you had no clue, and now you have lost your sight. You've gone blind. That's unexpected change. Another example, normal change, is the cost associated with having a family. I mean, it costs to have a family. You got mouths to feed, bodies to clothe, a roof to put over their head, and on and on and on. That's normal change, and the cost of raising a family is not the same today as it was 15, 20 years ago. So that's normal change. It costs. Unexpected change, however, is when a member of the family has become disabled. And so now there is cost associated with caring for that family member. Didn't see it coming, and yet it is here. And it is just something that we did not see coming. It's something that we did not know was going to happen, but now we got to deal with it. That's unexpected change. Normal change as it relates to an automobile. Maintenance. You got to change the oil. I guarantee you don't have the same tires on that car that you had 10 years ago. I mean, you got to change the tires. You got to change the oil. I mean, that's car maintenance. That's normal change. Just again, like the body, is wear and tear. But unexpected change is when you're driving that car and out of nowhere you're involved in a collision and the car has been totaled. And so now you've got to prepare to either purchase a new automobile or go carless, carpool, or whatever you're going to do. So there's a difference between normal change and unexpected change. And so this series is not as much about normal change as it is confronting unexpected change. And so this book, Who Moved My Cheese, Dr. Spencer Johnson, has been out there mid to late 90s, and it's been used by organizations, churches, individuals, and so a tremendous source for dealing with change, unexpected change. And so that is what we're going to use to help us deal with uh, how our lives have been turned upside down, how our world has been brought to its needs. The way that you and I have done things has changed. We are not doing things the same way we have always done those things. And so we're at a place where everything has changed, and so therefore we've got to make some adjustments, and we've got to deal with some things differently. And so, again, this series, Confronting Unexpected Change, and again, we're using the basic principles of this book, and I want you to go out and get it if you don't already have it. But we're going to be walking through it for the next 6 to 8 weeks. And so tonight, we just want to lay the foundation of it. And so we want to give you a short video clip to summarize the book itself, because now once you have a sense of what the book is about, and then I'm going to walk through, we have about 6 to 7 sessions where we're going to walk through it systematically so you can get a great understanding of how to deal with unexpected change and on and on and on. But we'll say more about that. But now I want you to prepare yourself to watch, enjoy, listen up as we show you this video clip. It's about 6-7 minutes, something like that. So prepare yourself to be engaged by the video clip with Set Media.
A summary of the book. There are 4 characters which are introduced into this story. 2 mice, Scruffy and Sniff, and 2 men, Hem and Haw. Scurry is always quick to act, while Sniff has a knack for smelling change at an early stage. Hem is someone who is resistant to change, because he feels change is going to bring about something worse. Haw, on the other hand, resists change at first, but then quickly learns to adapt when he sees that change could potentially lead to something better. These 4 characters represent the complexities that make up our human personality and our journey towards success. The story of Scurry and Sniff. Scurry and Sniff are simple little creatures. They do, however, have good instincts. They spend a considerable amount of time scurrying up and down the maze in search of cheese every day. They hurry from one corner to the next, turning around if they don't spot any cheese in sight. Each day, the 2 little mice check on their cheese to see if there has been any changes to the cheese, and they keep on their toes, just in case they might have to be on the move again, looking for new cheese. The story of Hem and Haw. Then we have Haw and Hem, who also spend their time within a maze in search of cheese. However, they aren't searching for the cheese because they are hungry. On the contrary, Haw and Hem are searching for the cheese because they believe that finding it is what will lead them to feel happy and successful. Unlike Scurry and Sniff, though, Haw and Hem tend to overthink because of their complex brains. Haw and Hem start to consider the quickest way to locate the cheese, what strategies work best to maneuver the maze, how to keep track of the strategies, when they will finally locate the cheese, and what it will feel like when they do. Naturally, they also start to wonder if the cheese even exists in the maze at all. However, once they do locate their cheese, Hem and Haw quickly become complacent and settle down, satisfied with their cheese stash. One day, when both mice and men wake up to find their cheese gone, the little mice immediately spring into action and run off in search of more cheese, while the 2 men stand by in shock at this terrible turn of events. The mice aren't as horrified by what has happened because they have been watching their cheese supply from the minute they found it, constantly watching for signs of change. The reaction that follows. Hem couldn't believe what happened and insists on standing his ground, staying right where he is. He believes that they should be compensated for the loss of cheese, because life was being unfair. He refuses to leave the place where the cheese was, and decides to stay where he is, even at the risk of fading away. Haw, on the other hand, is reluctant to change at first, because he finds it difficult to comprehend the turn of events that has happened. Haw is initially terrified of returning to the maze and searching for new cheese because of what happened, but soon comes to realize that looking for new cheese is still better than staying in a place that has no cheese at all. With the thought of finding new cheese on his mind, Hor resolutely pushes forward. When he is almost at the brink of giving up, Hor finally finds some new cheese in a different part of the maze. Here he finds Sniff and Scurry there, already enjoying some cheese, and this time Hor joins in the enjoyment. The one thing Hor does differently this time is to continue searching for new cheese while enjoying what he has. And now he too checks on his cheese daily for signs of change. Key takeaways. There is always success to be found, even when you think you have achieved the success that you've always wanted. It doesn't mean you're automatically set up for life. Hor eventually came to the realization and went in search of new cheese on his own, and refused to be paralyzed by fear any longer. Adapting to change and letting go of the old ways is something we must all learn to do. And when we have found some cheese, we should enjoy it, but never stop searching for more cheese to keep us going. When going through the maze, Hor wrote messages on the wall for Hem to read, if he ever was brave enough to venture out into the maze. Cheese can represent anything you want in life. Happiness, money, love. Here are the things he wrote. Have cheese makes you happy. The more important your cheese is to you, the more you want to hold on to it. If you do not change, you will become extinct. What would you do if you weren't afraid? Smell the cheese often, so you know when it's getting old. When you move beyond your fear, you feel free. Imagining yourself enjoying new cheese even before you find it leads you to it. The quicker you let go of old cheese, the sooner you find new cheese. It is safer to search in the maze than to remain in the cheeseless station. Old beliefs may not lead to new cheese. When you see that you can find and enjoy new cheese, you change course. Noticing small changes early helps you adapt to bigger changes that are to come. Change happens. They keep moving the cheese. Anticipate change. Get ready for the cheese to move. Monitor change. Smell the cheese. Change. Move with the cheese. Enjoy change. Savor the adventure and enjoy the taste of new cheese. Be ready to change quickly and enjoy it again and again. Keep moving with the cheese.
All right. Now, let me say this before moving on. Starting next Wednesday, we will also have this session for kids and youth. So, if you have questions, concerns, you can call the church, 989-752-8064, 989-752-8064, information regarding those sessions. Again, it's going to be on Zoom, okay? So again, that next Wednesday, we'll start the sessions for kids and youth. Well, now you've just kind of witnessed a summary of the book itself. And again, what we're going to do is that we're going to walk through this. Don't worry about if you didn't get everything. We're going to walk through it. I'll make sure you get everything you need relative to the book itself, as well as how we can use this in everyday life. So now let's begin. First of all, we're talking about how do you handle unexpected change. It's the question that each of us have to ask ourselves, and we handle it different ways. We're all different. And when it comes to unexpected change, do I respond by complaining? That's a response. You saw that with one of the characters there. Sometimes we don't understand that God is the only constant variable, if I can say that remains the same. Everything else in creation experiences change, and so it happens to all of us. And so sometimes when it happens, some of us complain. Another response is rejection. We don't want to accept it. We don't want to dance to this new tune. We don't want to face reality. Some of us are still looking for payphones. I mean, we don't understand that payphones, by and large, are bygone. Some of us still have the same cell phone that we had 20 years ago, 15 years ago. I mean, it's changed, and so we don't want to. We reject those new changes. But then also anger. Some of us are upset that things have changed. Some of us don't get that things have not remained the same. So sometimes we're up in arms. We are angry that things are no longer the same. So, some people are still complaining about prices, and they're just mad. Well, why I used to be able to get it for this, and this don't make any sense. And we can do that all day long, but it's still not going to change the fact that things have changed. And so sometimes we become angry. Another way we respond to it is that we overthink. We there are certain issues, there are certain events that are, on a total scheme of things, they are minor. And so let's not put too much energy or waste too much time on spilled milk. And so sometimes, again, we overthink, we overanalyze, and we spend our time, putting more time into matters or on matters that's not going to be beneficial to us. And so sometimes we overthink. Then some of us, we accept it. It happened. Okay, how do we move on? One of the challenges, if that is your way of handling unexpected change, but you are with other people or other people with you, you've got to exercise a little patience, because whereas you may be ready to move on, there are other people who that experience has been somewhat traumatic, and so they're not quite ready to move on. Sometimes we're fearful when it comes to change. It catches us off guard. We are not prepared for it, and so it happens, and so we are just afraid. We are literally paralyzed in terms of what now, what's next. Then there's this apprehensive. So it's we're uncomfortable, we're uneasy, we're on edge, and so sometimes that's the way we deal with it. Another way that we deal with it is that we simply try to act as though it really did not happen. We ignore the fact that this has happened, this is the way things are, this is my lot, this has in fact happened. No, this is not a dream. This is real, and it's in real time. It really did happen. And so sometimes when unexpected change occurs, it stumps us. We are literally dumbfounded. We are literally at a standstill, and we don't want to deal with it. And so sometimes we say, well, maybe if I just keep one eye open and one eye closed, that'll help me. It's really not there. Maybe if I just do something else, and if I occupy myself with doing something, hey, it's not there. It would take my mind off of it. But ignoring it is not going to help. So this statement that James Baldwin made years ago is quite helpful. It's a summarizing, basically, dealing with unexpected change. And here's what he said. He said, "Not everything that is faced can be changed, but nothing can be changed until it is faced." That's good information there. And so we want to remember that as we're working through and confronting unexpected change. And as always, we want you to send us your questions. We have individuals who are waiting for those questions. So as soon as you get the question, shoot it to us, and we'll pause, and we will definitely address those particular questions. And again, tonight we're basically just kind of laying a foundation for where we're going and what the series is going to be about. But let me move now to asking this question: what is your cheese? Remember from the brief video clip, what we pursue because it makes us happy is really the metaphor for cheese. And think about what is it that you wake up in the morning for? What is it that you go after? What is it that makes you happy? Our cheese are those things that we, again, live for. And once we have those particular things, we are happy, and we get attached to those things. And then what happens in the event if they're taken from us or we lose them, that can be somewhat of a traumatic experience. And so that's what we're talking about. That's what Dr. Spencer Johnson is talking about when he talks about cheese. Again, it's a metaphor for what makes us happy, what do we live for, what are we after, what are we chasing, etc. The maze itself is kind of where we spend the bulk of our time looking for what we want, how we go after it. And so that can be the workplace, an organization, that can be home, that can be the church, that can be the community, and of course it can be the world in which we live. And so that's the maze. And so let's just kind of go down a list of possible um, things, so to speak, that could be our cheese. Number one, what about a job? What about that? Is that what you live for? Is that what um, life consists of? The job. Of course, we do work. We do have to earn a living to provide for ourselves and our family and to make a difference even in the world. Uh, but a job can be the cheese. There's this dream job that one wants to have, and until they can get that, maybe they don't feel as if they are significant or they're doing anything meaningful. And so there is this dream job that can be an individual's cheese. Here's something else: this relationship. That can be one's cheese. They are looking for the perfect individual. They have this, Cinderella uh, imagination. They see themselves like that, and they're waiting for a prince to come along. Or you have not a Cinderella, but a Cinderfella, and he is waiting on the princess to come and have this imaginative, romantic experience that's going to last for a lifetime. And so, for this person, it's a relationship. Cheese could also be career, and of course, we know there's a difference between having a job and a career. A job is just something we just do for the sake of doing it, but a career is long term. It's considered to be what one is going to use for a season to reach his or her ultimate goal. It's one's work over his or her lifetime. We could view that as a career. And so some people, they haven't had a chance, for whatever reason, to really begin to establish their career. I mean, times are hard, times are different, and so they've just been going from one dead end job to the next. And so so the cheese for them could be career, the type of career. So here's another one: money. Of course, we need money. We use money. We but then money is not everything there is, but but we need money, and of course God knows that we need this. And so maybe for some, that's the cheese. That money can even be, has been even called cheese, has even been called rather cheese. And so money can be a person's cheese. It's what makes them happy. It's what they go after. It's what they pursue. And when they have it, they are happy. But when they don't have it, they are unhappy. So money can be a person's cheese. I think we got a question here. We'll stop right now. Question? Okay, I'm trying to see if I can summarize. Thank you for that question. It's a good question. How do you accept the handwriting on the wall? How do you, um, I guess, enjoy how do you let go of the old cheese so that you can enjoy the new cheese because it's hard work, something to that nature? And here again, we're going to deal with that. We're going to have sessions where we're going to specifically deal with that. But in essence, change happens. And so when it happens, we have to make these adjustments. And sometimes um, we are not necessarily lost. We get left because we're not willing to move with time and move with the times. And so we're going to talk about adapting to change later on. And so that will hopefully help you with accepting and really accepting the handwriting on the wall. And to acknowledge the handwriting on the wall is not the same as accepting the knowledge, the handwriting on the wall. If you're going to accept it, then there's some action, there's some change of behavior, so on and so forth. If you simply just acknowledge it on the wall, then that just means you're just aware of it, but there's no action follow that. So we're going to again deal with that session on adapting to change, and hopefully that will help you with that particular question. Is there another question before we continue? Okay. Okay. A phrase mentioned early on. Okay. Yeah, try to help us a bit more with what the phrase referenced, and we'll come back to it before we're done. Okay? Okay, James Baldwin. The quote by James Baldwin. Not everything that is faced can be changed, but nothing can be changed until it is faced. Thanks, media team, for that. So that was the James Baldwin quote. But again, help us with that, and we'll come back to that before we're done. So here's another. What else could retirement for some cheese? That's their cheese. Retirement. It's something that they're looking forward to. It is something that they cannot wait to get to. But what happens when you cannot retire? Your plan to retire has been changed, and something happens, health-wise maybe, or a new expense, and you can't retire right now. Or what happens if you retire and you find yourself having to return to work? So again, for some, that can be their cheese. Here's another one: health. Health can be a person's cheese. An individual has, by and large, lived a healthy life, no health issues, but all of a sudden, their strength has depleted, their wherewithal has changed, and so now you got some adjustments that you've got to make. And it's not easy when you've been accustomed to doing things for yourself, taking care of yourself. And so what happens when the tables have turned, when you are no longer taking care of others, others are now having to take care of you. And we don't always receive aid because we've been accustomed to being the one to give aid and assistance. So again, for some, it could be health. What about religion? Okay, that's some other people's cheese. It's their way of dealing with God, experiencing the things of God, and God does not change, but God changes His methods. God can change how He brings about His end results. And so for some people, it's one way. This is the only way. And if anyone thinks differently, then they're not saved, or they are not as close to God. They really don't know what they're talking about. They don't know the Bible, and on and so on and so forth. So for some people, cheese is their religion. Or religion is their cheese. Then family. And family can be an individual cheese. Some people want a family, and they are after that whole family-like experience. But what happens if life happens such that you don't have what we could call the traditional family? and it's just not working out that way. How can a person deal with that? Or you do have the traditional family, but then something happens where you're going to have to make some new adjustments with that traditional family. One of the things that I have experienced, Omi have experienced, and many other families have experienced that empty nest situation. That's a major adjustment. That's a major transition that can take a toll on a family, a household, not only those that are left behind in the home, but then also those who have left the nest. And so, for some, that's just an example of how that unexpected change, you think you're ready for it, but then when it happens, I didn't know it was going to be like this. So even there's an adjustment that has to be made with dealing with that. So the whole family, the family is still family according to Scripture, but there's a different description of family in our life and time. Family is not seen as the same as it is in the Bible. Now, the family in the Bible is the same, but family as we see it today is not necessarily the same. So even then, for some, family can be their cheese. Do we have another question, or we can keep moving? Yes. Okay. How do you choose? You can have more than one type of cheese. Your cheese, again, based upon what Dr. Johnson is talking about, is what you go after, is what you pursue. And you pursue it because it's what you believe makes you happy. And once you have it, you are attached to it. If something happens to it, you are unhappy, and again, losing it or it being taken from you can be somewhat of a major. It can be a traumatic experience. So people can get a sense of what they want, how bad they want it. They can get a sense of what is their definition of happiness, what it means to be happy. That's a way for people to really get a sense of what may be their cheese. Okay? These are just examples of what may be cheese. Okay? Here's another one, education. That could be a metaphor for cheese. One going for higher learning, higher education, and everybody's high is not necessarily the same, but it can be their high. For some, it could be graduating from high school. For others, it could be getting an associate's degree or learning a skilled trade or getting a certificate in some particular specialized area. So education can be someone's teeth. Say again. Something that you enjoy. Yes, something that brings you happiness. Yes, something that you want. So therefore, you go after it. You pursue it. But yeah, education can also be a metaphor for Jesus. Then let me give you one more: peace of mind. Some people, they want peace. They pursue peace. And they would do anything to guard and to protect that peace. And people have a different way of describing, if not defining, what is peace for them. Some people, peace is being by themselves. Other people, they're at peace when the whole family comes to the house. And so whatever peace is, that's what makes them happy. And when they don't have it, of course, they are not at peace. So peace can be, a peace of mind can be cheese. And again, for some people, having their bills paid. Now that's peace. Some people is just getting a bill paid. That's peace. That's something they don't have to worry about. So it's different for everyone. But again, peace can be cheese. Here's this statement of summation, and we'll come back. To get what you've never had may require you doing what you have never done. Say that again. To get what you have never had may require you doing what you have never done. You've heard that before. I've heard it before. I don't know who made that up, but I have it in quotation. It's not mine, but we know that is a reality. Um, so we had another question. Yes. Okay. How do we combat the fear that is associated with moving uh, where the cheese is, right? Or getting new cheese and so forth. New cheese, yeah. Now, there again, we're going to deal with that a particular session uh, that that helps us with that. But let me just say to you that uh, f- fear. Um, Whenever, like when I'm standing before you tonight, there's an element of fear that is associated with my standing before an audience. However, that fear is not paralyzing in that it's not stopping me from doing it, but I am doing it, and yet at the same time I am experiencing an element of fear. So, just because there is an element of fear associated with change, that I think that is normal instead of abnormal. Okay, so whomever asked the question, I mean that's natural. You're going to be a bit shaken, but it's if you continue with it, you'll be okay. It's kind of like if you're afraid to drive in the snow, but you do it anyway. I mean, you work through that. So when it comes to this new cheese experience, there's a fear element associated with doing that. It's kind of like the Fear Factor show some years ago. They worked through those fears. They still had the fears, but they worked through them. Okay, so we'll have individual session that will help you with that down the line. Okay. So you had a chance to meet the characters and the story, and so I want to each of us to get a sense of based upon what we that brief video, brief introductions about the four characters. Which character are you most like? Of course, we know you got two mice, Sniff and Scurry. When it comes to there we go. All right, great. So you got these four characters there: Sniff, Scurry, Him, and Haw. And of course, now when it comes to Sniff, remember sniffs out change early. Are you the type who you are alert, you are aware, and so although the change you couldn't predict what was going to happen, you are the type of person who who chances are you are more proactive than you are reactive. Or are you that type of person? Are you like Sniff? Scurry scurries into action. I mean, it happens. Jesus old and so on and so forth. So, ain't no sense in sitting around waiting for somebody else to remove it or to replace it. But are you the type of person who automatically shifts into action? Are you the type who just kind of sits on the sideline, just waiting for something to happen on its own? Or again, you like scurry? Then you will remember we had the little people. Of course, we had him. Him, Hem, denies and resists change as he fears it will lead to something worse. Sometimes that's that apprehensive. Sometimes we are afraid to do something for the fear of having to deal with something else. Sometimes we don't want to take that first step because that's it. It's the first step. And so we're afraid that it may make matters worse. We don't know if that's going to lead to something else that we're going to have to do. And so sometimes when it comes to decision making, we are a bit, we'll make it. We're going to make it, but sometimes it takes us a little longer to actually make the decision because of fear that it may trigger something else. But then you have Hall learns to adapt in time when he sees changing leads to something better. And I want to remind each of us this is not our first time dealing with unexpected change. This is, however, our first time dealing with this type of unexpected change, namely the pandemic and so forth. So this is the first time with this, but it's not our first time dealing with change that we didn't see coming. So think about those characters. And again, we'll do these individual sessions, and so we'll get a better chance to analyze each of these characters so we have a better sense of, can we see ourselves in one, or is there a little bit of each of those characters in us, or us in those characters? Now, we have a question. Okay. Okay, question. Great question. Is the possibility that there's a little sniff, scurry, him, and Hall in each of us, or a little bit of them in us? It's a possibility. Yeah, it's a possibility. Okay, but hopefully, as we go deeper, we'll get a greater sense of which are we like most like. Okay, so we'll do that on down the line in one of the sessions. Okay. Now we're living in a day and time where we've really been forced to recognize what has been there for a long time, and that is systemic racism. You know, we're dealing with injustice, we're dealing with inequity, and this has been going on for a long time. But then there are some people who really don't think that those types of experiences exist. And so they don't want to deal, they really don't want to deal with these issues because it's going to require change. And so we came across somewhat of a cartoon, and we're going to show that in a second. And what we want to do is that I want to read each of these to get a sense, for us to get a sense of how for some people there's no need to change, or if you change, can we do it quietly, etc. So here is how it begins. Hey, I have nothing against protesting. I'm just against rioting. So the other person here says, yeah, if only they could find a peaceful way to protest police brutality, something like kneeling during the national anthem. And of course the other person, exactly. But then, wait, no. You see the next column there. And then he responds, look, I just think they should find a way to protest that does not interrupt our way of life. So, keeping protests as low-key and unobtrusive as possible so the institutions of racism can remain unchanged. Exactly. Of course, the person is not really sure what he is saying. So there's this big pause, and then he responds with, huh? Meaning he's not sure of what he said. He thought he said something else, but that's not what he really meant. And so then lastly he says this, I didn't realize how bad that would sound saying it out loud. That is just an example of how people see different systems in our country, different ways of doing things, example of livelihoods and lifestyles. Is nothing wrong with it, and if there is something wrong with it, it's really no big deal. And so there's a way to deal with these things without changing, and that's totally opposite. They have to be confronted. They have to be changed. And so we're going to go down a list of several sessions and even lessons on change that we will deal with one session at a time. But before I list these, we want to pause for to address another question. Can your character depend upon what you're facing? I don't want to try to read the person's mind who stated their question, but I want to try to see if I understand it. If you're saying that based upon who a person really is determines how they see things. Not character, but characters in the story. Okay, sorry about that. Oh yes, your character, right? That because that serves as the lens through which you see the world, your experiences, and all that. That's the way you see. That's your lens. Okay, absolutely, yes. Apologize. Yes, one of the characters, based upon those characters, definitely. Yes, good question. So next Wednesday we're going to start with change happens. Change happens. Now I'm going to go ahead and put this out. It's at the end of the session, but again, God is the common denominator. Only God is the same. There's no need for God to change who he is. But everything in creation, in some way, at some degree, at some level, at some rate, experiences change. We're dealing with what? What is taking place in our world in terms of the climate. We're dealing with all of those different elements as it relates to how we have in some way not been the very best stewards of God's property, God's resources, God's creation. And so the world, in terms of its age, in terms of its function, it is still functioning. It is still working. But the world that we live in today is not the same world that it was at the dawning of creation over a period of time. And so change happens. I mean, if you would take a banana and you would lay that banana, if you just put the banana in a basket by itself, and the way that banana is today, it will not be that way 3 days from now. I guarantee you that the change, that first of all, the outside of the banana is going to change. That's changing. The inside of the banana is changing. The color, the taste, all of that is going to change. And so everything in creation, and God is not in creation. God is the creator, but everything associated with creation changes. And so change happens. I mean, and so given that is the reality of the human experience, everything changes, then in some way we just got to learn how to, first of all, accept that change happens. And here's what I want to say, and it's at the end, but I want to say we want to learn how to see change as change is what happens for me. It is not necessarily what happens to me. It happens for me. All things work together for the good and so on and so forth. Again, you got to know God is in control. You have to know that. And I mean, any of us can sit down and have a candid conversation about how this pandemic, as challenging, as hard, as life altering, and all of that, but we have seen the handwriting of God. We have seen God move and act in ways and means that we have never seen. And so in some way, this change has worked for us in some way. So change happens. So next week we're going to talk about that. It happens. Nothing remains the same. So we're going to deal with change happens. Number two, anticipate change. How do we anticipate change without looking for change under every rock? Without living on the edge, and without being pessimistic, and how do we anticipate change without uh, being different in terms of how we perceive ourselves and how we perceive the world in which we live? You know, being a royal priesthood, being different. That don't mean that we're weird. No, that we you. And so what I'm saying is that how do we anticipate change without being weird? Again, looking for it under every rock, and afraid to do everything for fear of something happening. So how do we anticipate change? Because it's going to happen. And we saw in that video clip that he sniffs out change early. So how do we do that? So anticipate change. You know, even with our bodies, you got to anticipate change. It's going to happen. It's bound to happen. Number three, the third session we're going to deal with is monitor change. Even when it comes to the body, even when it comes to equipment in our homes, when it comes to automobiles, when it comes to church, how we do church. If you got 3 people who want to do it this way, but then you got another 100 who want to do it another way. The reason why you're only getting 3 people doing it that way is because only 3 people want to do it that way. And so we monitor the change. It's like, whoa, maybe it was not the best time to make the change, or that was not the change that we needed for right now. So we monitor that. Fourth session, adapt to change quickly. There again, once change happens, we've got to deal with it as quickly as we possibly can. Then change itself, we want to talk about that. And then lastly, enjoy change. How do we enjoy change? How do we move with it seamlessly, or as best we can? How do we move with it? And now the benefits of the series, because we want to keep you right at 8 o'clock. The benefits of the series, it'll help us deal with change. It's going to help bring us success. Again, success in your life today is very different than success in your life years ago. So how do we bring success? But then also, how do we even define success? We're different now than we were years ago as it relates to what does it mean to be successful, and so on and so forth. And then that last statement of summation: see change as what happens for you, not to you. Okay? So I know we've said a whole lot. This is the very first session. It'll be a bit more focused come next Wednesday, because we're going to walk through each of these sessions individually, and we'll be able to pick them apart, and hopefully you'll be blessed with dealing with unexpected change. Do we have any other questions before we say good night? I want to remind you, prayer call series starting tomorrow morning, 6:30. We're dealing with a new series, dangerous prayers, praying dangerously. So we're going to deal with that topic for the next 6 or 8 maybe prayer calls, or we may even go longer. But we'll start tomorrow, and look forward to having that time with you tomorrow morning at 6:30 a.m. Well, it is 7:57. You've been such a great class tonight, I decided to let you out early. So it's 7:57. Thank you so much for making the commitment and then following through on the commitment as we begin this new series, Confronting Unexpected Change. Again, next Wednesday, we'll be back. Of course, you have questions for the time for the kids and youth. We have that for you. So, for adults as well as kids on next week. God bless you. Have a good evening. Continue to wash your hands, mask up, stay distance, and be prayerful. Take care. Have a good evening.